Every generation is taught the same promise. If the economy grows, society becomes richer. If GDP rises, life improves. If markets are strong, the future is secure. This idea is repeated so often that it feels like a law of nature, something unquestionable, something permanent. But it isn't. It is the biggest economic lie of the 21st century, not because growth is fake, but because growth no longer means prosperity. Welcome to Histonomix, where history meets money. To understand this, we have to separate two things that are constantly confused: economic expansion and economic progress. For most of modern history, they move together. Today, they do not. Let's rewind. In the early and mid-20th century, growth was powered by productivity. Factories produced more goods per worker. Electricity, automation, highways, and mass manufacturing reduced costs across society. When productivity rose, wages rose. When output increased, living standards improved. Between 1948 and 1973, American worker productivity grew 96% and median wages grew 91% right alongside it. Growth translated into shorter work weeks, stable employment, pensions, and home ownership. This is why older generations associate growth with opportunity. Because for them, it was real. But starting in the late 1970s, something fundamental changed. Productivity kept rising. Technology advanced. Global output expanded. Yet, from 1973 to 2018, productivity rose 77%, while hourly pay grew just 12%. Wages stopped keeping up. This break between productivity and pay is not an accident. It is one of the most important economic shifts of the last 50 years. From that moment, growth no longer flowed naturally to labor. So the system had to find new ways to sustain itself. The first major shift was financialization. Instead of focusing on producing goods and services, economies increasingly focused on producing financial returns. Banking expanded, trading volumes exploded, derivatives multiplied. Debt markets became central. In 1970, finance accounted for 4% of U.S. corporate profits. By 2007, it was 40%. Finance stopped being a tool for the real economy. The real economy became a tool for finance. Companies discovered it was often more profitable to buy back their own shares than to invest in workers or innovation. Profit came from balance sheet optimization, not productivity. This changed the character of growth. GDP could rise even if factories closed. Corporate profits could surge while employment stagnated. Markets could boom while communities declined. Growth became abstract. Then came the second shift, monetary dominance. As economies became more fragile, central banks gained unprecedented power. Interest rates were lowered to stimulate demand. Liquidity was injected to prevent collapse. Asset markets were stabilized again and again. Each intervention worked in the short term, but each one deepened dependence on monetary support. Money flowed first into financial assets, not wages. Stocks rose faster than incomes. Housing prices disconnected from salaries. This is not a side effect. It is how monetary transmission works. Those closest to capital benefit first. Those dependent on labor benefit last, if at all. This is why modern recoveries feel unequal by design, because structurally, they are. The third shift was debt replacing income. When wages stopped rising, credit filled the gap. Households borrowed to maintain living standards. Students borrowed for education. Governments borrowed to sustain growth. Corporations borrowed to boost earnings per share. American household debt rose from 47% of GDP in 1980 to 98% by 2007. Debt created the appearance of prosperity. Consumption continued. GDP rose. But debt is not wealth. It is postponed obligation. Growth pulled forward from the future always demands repayment. This is why modern economies are so sensitive to interest rates. Why even small tightening causes panic. Why policymakers fear recessions more than inflation. The system has become addicted to expansion. And this brings us to GDP itself. GDP is treated as a scoreboard of success. But GDP does not measure well-being. It measures transactions. If rent rises, GDP rises. If healthcare becomes more expensive, GDP rises. If people work multiple jobs to survive, GDP rises. Even disasters raise GDP, because rebuilding counts as economic activity. GDP measures motion, not direction. Speed, not destination. A society can be running faster while going nowhere, or worse, running faster toward instability. This is how the illusion forms. Markets rise, so headlines celebrate. Numbers look strong, so leaders declare success. Meanwhile, purchasing power erodes. Social mobility declines. Younger generations struggle to accumulate assets. This disconnect creates a deep psychological fracture. People are told everything is fine, but their lived experience says otherwise. They are not confused. They are observing reality. The system is functioning, just not for shared prosperity. Now, defenders of the current system would point to real achievements. Global extreme poverty has declined dramatically. Technology has advanced at breathtaking speed. Life expectancy has increased in most regions. These gains are genuine, but here's the crucial insight. Global progress and domestic hollowing can happen simultaneously. The modern economic system is not optimized for making everyone richer within wealthy nations. It is optimized for stability at the top, preventing collapse, preserving asset values, maintaining confidence. Growth is no longer the goal. Growth is the tool. A tool used to keep leverage sustainable. A tool used to justify intervention. A tool used to maintain legitimacy. This is why inequality rises even during expansions. Why asset owners benefit disproportionately. Why labor feels permanently behind. It is also why political anger keeps growing. People sense the system is rigged, but cannot always explain how. They are told to trust the numbers, yet the numbers ignore distribution. History shows us that systems like this rarely collapse suddenly. They stagnate. The Roman Empire did not fall overnight. It hollowed out economically long before it collapsed politically. Tax burdens shifted to the middle. Currency debased. Wealth concentrated in fewer hands. Late-stage empires often maintain appearances while internal vitality declines. Growth continues. Trade continues. But opportunity narrows. This is why stagnation is more dangerous than crisis. Crises force reform. Stagnation normalizes decline. When growth no longer improves life for the majority, trust erodes. When trust erodes, institutions weaken. When institutions weaken, stability becomes harder to maintain. And yet, the charts may still look fine. This is the tragedy of the modern economic narrative. We are measuring success using tools designed for a different era. An era when growth and prosperity move together. They no longer do. So what changes? We need new measures that track what actually matters. Median wealth accumulation, not just aggregate GDP. Housing affordability, not just construction spending. Time poverty, not just employment rates. We need policies that reconnect productivity to wages through stronger labor bargaining, updated corporate governance, and tax structures that reward production over speculation. We need to recognize that markets are tools, not gods, and tools can be redesigned. The biggest economic lie of the 21st century is not that growth exists. Growth is real. The lie is that growth still means progress. That rising numbers automatically translate into rising lives. Until we redefine what success means, until we distinguish system survival from human advancement, we will keep celebrating expansions that feel empty. We will keep mistaking stability for health. And numbers for truth, the economy is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was redesigned to do. And understanding that is the first step towards seeing the real story behind modern power. If you like our analysis, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.